Hello and welcome to the Sunrise Road. This is a podcast with conversations that connect and weave hope into the fabric of our shared lives. My name is Melodie Jones-Poynton.
And I am Thomas Dimmermuth. And I am super excited about our guest today. My friend Tut is with us, Tut Kailech, and I pronounce that in a Swiss accent right now.
That's the first.
Tut is a refugee from South Sudan. He's now an American citizen. He is employed as a community builder and marketing specialist for a local nonprofit called NeighborWorks here in Lincoln. And we were talking about that too. You wear a great many hats, and you are you do marketing also personally. You're a brand specialist. You enjoy being a musician, and you have your own podcast. And your goal is to provide helpful resources for Lincoln, this community, and connect people and learn and do engagement with others. We're so glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. I'm excited to be on this platform, talk to folks. Hopefully, folks get some value from our conversation, and I know it'll be fruitful. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Melodie, and thank you, Thomas, and Vince in the background.
Yeah. So Tut, I already hinted at it in the introduction. Your many hats. Which one do we want to pick on first?
Let's talk about the hat that I wear the most, 40 hours a week, 40 to 50 hours a week. NeighborWorks Lincoln. So I work as a community builder. I serve as a community builder for NeighborWorks Lincoln. So NeighborWorks Lincoln is a community housing development organization. That's just a very professional term of saying that we help folks in the community find homes and we help develop those communities. So we actively partner with residents, businesses, city departments, elected officials to increase the supply of affordable housing and strengthening neighborhoods. So what we really do is open the doors for folks to achieve their dreams of home ownership, and for others who are committed to strong and accessible neighborhoods. So my day job looks different all the time. What I mostly do is meeting folks where they are. I've been at NeighborWorks, it's going to be 4 years in January. So I've learned a lot in this role. Now, what we mostly do is hear from folks, go to them, have actual genuine dialogue, and understanding what really matters to them, what challenges are they facing, but mostly what opportunities are there. Because we can sit and dwell on a lot of the challenges because there's plenty. But we want to focus on the possible gifts that folks have, the institutions that are around to help that goal become possible. So we use an asset-based community development approach. So we don't look at it from a needs kind of focus. We look at it at a strength focus. What strengths do folks have individually? What are some of the assets that you have in your neighborhood? Most folks don't typically do like an inventory of like, oh, what institutions are around? What places of worship are around? What parks are around? So we try and make folks understand that they, within themselves, in their community, have a lot of resources, and it's just being, I don't know, crafty enough to strengthen their neighborhood. So what activities do we do in community building? There's a lot of beautification projects. We just got done putting up a mural in a historically Black neighborhood called the Malone and Hawley neighborhood. It's a huge installment. We beautify, certain parks. We help clean up neighborhoods, organize community cleanups. We host town halls, bring in residents to the table so they can talk with city representatives and ask them direct questions and have them all in one spot instead of having folks running around. So the importance of being equitable and accessible are very important in these kind of conversations. Another thing is just working with our other institutions and other partners on how can we do this comprehensively, where it's not just home ownership focus coming from NeighborWorks. How can we also work with the renter focus organizations to help renters understand their rights and some of their responsibilities to work alongside with landlords to make their homes more equitable, more safe and quality for folks to continue to live and thrive in Lincoln. So that's my main hat that I usually wear. And I do some social media for NeighborWorks on the side with the help of my uh, supervisor. She doesn't like to be called my supervisor. She's my friend. We do that together. So that's one of the hats that I predominantly wear, but I don't want to go on it unless you guys have a question, but I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have a lot of questions. But the question I want to ask is like how do you get into this work and why do you do it? I mean, it sounds really exciting to
Yeah.
me.
Mhm.
And it sounds like a lot of connecting people together, but
Correct.
how did you get into this in 2020?
Yeah.
And in January of 2020? And
Mhm.
why was this?
So the way I fell into this job, I made a friend out through this internship called We Are Nebraska with the help of our director at the time, Julia Reby. She introduced me to who is now the Lancaster County Commissioner, Krista Yoakum. So she brought me to the table because she wanted folks who are refugees and would like to share their stories about certain services that are possibly coming to Lincoln and how we could best be equitable for that service. And so I was brought to the table. Now it's called My City Academy. And I think there's been at least like 6 cohorts that take new Americans through this curriculum, understanding what organizations are here in Lincoln, how they can get involved and become civic leaders. So through that time, I I had this initiative with my friend called Give for Good with my friend Mitch Petmuller. We started to see a need, especially in the work that I was doing at Civic Nebraska at the time. Kids were not wearing coats. But I understand kids can be stubborn. Kids just don't want to wear coats. They're going to be inside all day, is what they say, right? But I started to see like a pattern. These kids did not have coats. So I just went to my friend and I was like, bro, I think we should do this. Let's just use our social media and just market that we're going to be meeting at Seacrest Field or Seacrest parking lot, and we're going to be organizing winter clothing and accessories. And we did that. We ended up getting 500 coats and other winter clothing accessories. So Krista one day was like, "Hey, I think you should apply for this job." And I was like, "Well, what is it?" Because right now in my head, I was like, "I don't have benefits. I'm working two part-time jobs. I'm about to be done and graduated at UNL May 2020." And so it was also a marketing specialist because I was already doing this thing, making a brand called YATO, which stands for You Are the One. And it's pretty much a brand that I want folks to realize the importance that they have and the gift that they can bring to this world. And a lot of the times people don't believe in themselves. They don't have a lot of self-esteem. They compare themselves a lot. And I try to get them out of that mindset to understand like you do have a purpose in this world. There's a reason why you're here. And I want you to figure out what that is. And so you can bring that gift to the world. But first you have to fill up your cup first. So I
Mm.
try to tell people that you are the one. It all starts with you. And then at that point, you have the building blocks to then bring it back to other people. So now coming back into the NeighborWorks kind of thing, I was like, wait, you want to pay me to do the work that I'm already doing? Okay, we'll do it. And then COVID happened, which was tough. How can I create community through Zoom? Tough, right? But you have to adapt. That's what life has taught me as a refugee. You have to adapt. We have to do the things we have to do things with what we have, with what we have, and then we'll figure out the things throughout the journey. But it all comes and stems from building relationships, which is why I appreciate and love the work that I do, because I wouldn't be where I am without the help of folks like NeighborWorks, like Good Neighbor Community Center, the Malone Center, Salvation Army, to help prop up folks like me to then be members of the community, like contributing members to the community. So this is my way of also giving back. Like I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. So what I want to do is also do the same thing. And if I can get all of my needs covered and have a little bit on top, that's fine because I know what it's like to grow up with not a lot, so I can manage it in the nonprofit work. So the reason why I do it is because I see that the building community is like number one in my mind, because that's who you can fall on when times get tough. This is a group of people that you could build with when opportunities come. So when folks are meeting together, it it allows me to be even more grateful because we're humans. We're meant to do this together. And so if I could bring people together out of their busy schedules and their challenges that they go through life, it's a win because at that point they can continue to have I don't know, a better viewpoint on how they can contribute to society. And that's how I see myself. Yeah. Damn, I was talking a lot.
There's one thing I heard from the first thing you shared about how work started with NeighborWorks and the focus on home ownership, and then branching out into different areas is what I really hear from different aspects, YATO, is ownership.
Yes.
Ownership in a very deep sense, like for renters, for people in their community, for their seeing their assets and seeing where they are.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about how you arrived at that mindset?
Oh, thank you, Thomas. This is good. I'm definitely from now on, I'm always going to refer to this podcast. So I don't have to say this anymore. But I can, but I'd rather have a succinct way of doing it. Okay. So how did I get to this point of YATO and why do I think it was necessary? I was coming to a point where I was starting to see the writing on the wall of, okay, there's gifts that I have. I'm not utilizing them because I'm not curious enough. Okay, so let's go with this. So I started asking God, okay, God, what is it that I am here to do? Like everybody asks, right? I understand that I am a connector. I'm kind of an influencer or a person that inspires folks, and I'm all for inclusivity. But also understand I'm the oldest of 13 children. I know what it's like to give from an empty cup, right? So you can't do that because you become resentful. You won't give just to give. You're expecting something in return. You don't ever want to do that because that's not really giving. So I had to pick up practices within myself through that time in my life. Okay, to fill my cup, whether that's self-reflection in the morning, meditating on whether it's a phrase or just allowing myself to be present in the moment. Um, and realizing what gifts do I have. And at that point, I feel like I was working with God to co-create my reality that I was set to do. And that's what I really wanted to do with folks with this brand. Because the brand YATO started as an idea for me to fund my music hobby. Because I understood people didn't buy CDs. People weren't buying CDs. People weren't buying just your singles on iTunes.
They're
So
buying merch. Yeah.
exactly. So I was like,
I just want to interject here because
Yeah.
Vince, our producer, Vince Rule, who's also a musician, who also
Yes.
does Basement Creators Network, BCN.
Mhm.
And I can see his head going, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Drawing, yes. Additional language here too.
Yeah, because like, okay, this is my way of going about it, but people started to understand the message behind the brand. Like you are the one. I'm not saying that you are the sole creator of this reality. You have to work with the source. You have to work with God. to so at that point you're not forcing anything. You're allowing things to unfold as it should. But by you taking responsibility from your choices, from the reactions or your reactions to other people and how you interact with the environment. Because I think it all starts from within. How you are from within will then best help. It'll help you as you navigate this outer and external world. That's how I see it. Um, we start to have different viewpoints as we grow older, but I think that's what allowed me to get to this point where I am today. And I think that message with YATO aligns with all the other things that I'm doing because it starts with I want people to be able to give, but I want people to be able to give from filling their cups first. So at that point, you can then help others. Because if you're in a survival stage, it's hard for you to help others. And the reason why I want people to help others is because there's this feeling that we get of like elation. We feel joy from helping another person, you know? I almost feel guilty of how good I feel when I give. So I'm like, why don't we continue to do this? Let's think a way or some sort of channel or medium that can continue this going throughout my life. And that's how I created YATO. And YATO is what allowed me to create music to tell my story about being a refugee and how I want to progress and be a better human, a better brother, boyfriend, son, and whatnot. And and Blazing a Trail is literally Blazing Trail Podcast is a podcast that I have. It was just a way for me to have a platform to be the person who I needed when I was younger.
Mm.
So I am the oldest. I had to be resourceful on understanding what is the next step that I want to take. It was hard for me. So I relied on the people that I knew in the Lincoln community that were doing something already. It didn't have to be extravagant. It's just people that have gone down the unbeaten path. And I think the beaten path is like a doctor, lawyer, engineer, a lot of these avenues that a lot of immigrant and refugee parents want us to partake of. But I'm trying to show our parents that there's a lot of other possibilities around here. And so um, I wanted to bring people that gone down the unbeaten path. So folks, if they wanted to go down that path, they can see if it's worth their time, energy, and money. Because I would go down a certain journey and realize like how long it's going to take. Am I willing to sacrifice X, Y, and Z? No. Okay. Let's pivot. Let's figure out what are some of the things I do like? What are some things I don't like? Then do a cross analysis. What jobs or what kind of hobbies can I do to then get me on that path? Because sometimes when you get on a certain path, it's you start to understand, oh, I like this, but I actually like this better. But that wouldn't have happened if you didn't go on the path anyways. So like I liked creating music, but then I had to learn how to edit and mix my music. And then I was like, wait, I really like this though. I like mixing music. So that's what I really want to do with Blazing a Trail because everybody thinks it's like a linear journey, but you have times that you get off. But it's important that you make marks on where you were so you don't backtrack. It's always moving forward. I always tell people it's day one or one day. You choose, you know? Okay, let me shut up.
A million sermons in here. So, and I think, I don't know if it was the Gallup Strengths Finder that you took, but clearly you're using good language for like understanding who you are and what your gifts are and that asset-based development. You've referred kind of several times to your refugee story, and
Yes.
I'm like certainly if you, however much you want to share, but I think it would be, I don't want to put you in too vulnerable of a position.
No, it's okay.
But however much you're willing to share of that story would be great, and kind of what you want us to know about your experience as a refugee citizen.
Took a long time. But so yeah, my story is similar to a lot of Sudanese Americans. So, excuse me. So okay, so my parents were born in modern day Sudan, and they were affected by the Second Sudanese Civil War. So their upbringing has been nothing but turmoil. So my parents didn't know each other until they came back after walking to Ethiopia. I don't know what that is equivalent to, like walking from Lincoln to the destination. They went to a refugee camp, and then when they got back here, they met each other, and then things were still rocky. So then my parents walked to Nairobi, Kenya, and which is, I think it's like from here to Kansas, like walking to Kansas.
Mhm.
And so at that point, my mom was pregnant with me, and then I was born in a refugee camp called Walda in Nairobi, Kenya, in 1992. So as soon as I was born, my parents filed for sponsorship to come to the States. So 2 years, you don't hear anything. You start seeing other people being sponsored and whatnot. And then we were told in September of 1994, hey, you guys will be sponsored by a Catholic organization in Dallas, Texas. And you guys leave this date. So my parents and my people, we live off the land. We are rural people. They build their homes, they make their beer, they live off the land, they live close to the marshlands of the Nile.
Can you share too? Sorry to interject again,
Yeah,
but can you share where in Sudan? Because we do have some
yeah.
listeners who are very familiar with Sudan and
Oh,
South.
Nasser, South Sudan. So that's so in Malakal County.
Okay.
So the northeastern part of South Sudan right now.
Okay.
Upper Nile,
Upper Nile. There
the
you
Nile
go.
region. Yeah, yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah. Shout out to you guys if you're watching.
Oh, they're listening.
Yeah. So yeah, part of the Noor tribe. Um Shout out to you guys as well. Shout out to everybody from South Sudan. Anyways, so yeah. So the reason why I gave that background is because my parents did not know a lot of our people did not go to the Industrial Revolution.
Mhm.
So at that time, I was almost 2 years old. Then we're getting these lessons on, how can we resettle? What are some of the things that we should know before we even get on the plane, right? Like they were telling I remember my mom was saying, like, yeah, they told us don't touch anything on the plane. If we do, we're going to crash, right? I remember the story. My mom was like, yeah, you said you really had to go to the bathroom. So I'm like, can you hold it? And I was like, there's no way I can hold it for 20 plus hours. So we go to the bathroom. And so I obviously get done, but there's a button to get out. But my mom was told, don't touch anything. Don't touch anything. So we were stuck in there. And then my dad, after like 20 minutes, knocks on the door. He's like, why are you guys in there? She's like, I didn't want us to die. So that's like the mindset of what we had coming here. So you can understand what the shock was when you see refrigerator. I remember mom saying, like, when we were in the hotel, when we got to I think we flew to New York and then New York to Dallas or something. We were in the hotel for a layover. We ate our food and we put it in a closet, but we didn't know that there was a refrigerator that we could store our food. So that was huge. And then learning about the microwave or learning about stove or the oven or even the clean water that is in the toilet or in the sink. So so throughout that time, I'm also growing and learning with my parents. So my parents don't know any English. They're having to go work at these like whether it's like a meat market, having these entry level jobs so we could have like a good upbringing. So, but it's hard because like as a refugee, you have to get immersed right away. You only have 3 months of support in a sense when it comes to financial. So at that point, hopefully you have some family around that can take you to this place or help you get signed up for this service. So luckily we did. We always moved around with our tribe or our clan, I would say. So we started in Dallas. We only been there for 3 months because that's how much service we got. And then we went to Nashville, Tennessee, stayed there for a couple of years. Then we went to San Diego, California. Sad, I know. And then we left San Diego to Gallatin, Tennessee, 30,000 people. That's where we spent most of my childhood. And then we came to Lincoln in 2005. So throughout the time that I was moving, I was most of the time the only African kid in class. So, and I was learning English, ESL at the time. So it was tough because I'm trying to understand who I am as a person, being on the bridge of being considered African American and also being
Mhm.
considered Sudanese, right? So I have to learn English in order to integrate and be, a good student. But then I also have to remember mother tongue at the same time, and understanding our culture and our traditions. And then that's tough because most of the time is being spent like in the middle. I'm at school, I'm at these, extracurricular activities after school. So it's tough. Like there's times where some white kids when I was younger would be like, "Hey, you're black." And I'm like, "Well, the black kids told me that I'm not. They told me that I'm African." And I was like, "They're African too," but they said, "No, you're not." And I was like, "Okay, this is confusing."
Mhm.
So that was tough, but I understand now. It was coming from a place of um it was coming from a place of hurt, trauma, right?
Mhm.
And now I understand, like, I am lucky and have the privilege to understand who I am, where I come from, my mother language, and where my ancestors have been. These folks have had that stripping from them. So they definitely did see me as an an other, right? And it's definitely going to be the same way I'm going to be treated when I'm going back to South Sudan or Ethiopia, where a lot of our family is. Like they're already going to see me. They're going to see me that I'm American. So I'm not really Sudanese. So it's literally uh it's like middle child syndrome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Even
Mhm.
though I don't even know what that feels like because I'm the oldest. So yeah. So yeah, being a refugee has taught me that some folks need um they call social net. We need these services in order to get past that level of survival. If you want us to be contributing members to society, we need help whether it comes to food, whether in SNAP benefits, whether that's Medicaid if we don't have a job at the time, or school system. School system has to be good for our children to go to, so we can trust these folks who educate and take care of our kids. And housing. Housing was number one.
Mhm.
And now getting to where I am now, my parents told me, "Oh, you work at where? Neighborhood Works?" And I was like, "Close enough, yeah." They're like, "Yeah, we went through the program, but we didn't qualify at the time."
Mm.
And so it's a full circle moment. Like NeighborWorks has been doing the work behind the scene. We always say like we're the best kept secret, but I don't want it to be the best kept secret. I want people to utilize systems and services that are around in the city to best uh, to benefit folks and be uh, invested in their communities and in their neighborhoods. And being a refugee has helped me understand like the importance of community. Like if we didn't have folks that would scout out a certain city to see if it's viable for all these families that are willing to come, then we would be stuck in a city not knowing what to do. And that's why I want to be a community builder. I want to give back because I know what it's like and I want to be a contributing factor to make this not a reality for folks to experience in the future. And I'll shut up again.
This is really, as you say, this is really full circle. This
Yes.
is super fascinating to
Hmm.
me that you start talking, and here we are again.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, you say me and folks like me.
Hmm.
Um, what we talked a little bit about that before in our
Hmm.
before we started this podcast. What do you wish people knew about you or folks like you?
Um, what do I wish people knew about me? I really try and do my best with what I got. People have an outside perception of what they think my life is like, but I want you to actually meet me where I am. And folks ask me to do certain things, the ask of my gifts here and there. And sometimes it's hard. I've had to learn how to say no. And I want people to understand, like, I'm doing the best I can, but I've overexerted myself when I first started NeighborWorks because I I want to be viewed as like a competent person who's doing good work, right? But I overexerted myself to a point where I'm becoming resentful of the work that I'm doing that I was proud to do in the first place, or I was excited to do.
Mhm.
I don't want to have to do that again. I want to be in a spot where my cup is full, that I'm worrying about the things that I need to do before I start work or things I have to do after work, and having a healthy relationship with myself. So then I could be a good boyfriend, friend, colleague, community builder for the community. So if there's things that are going to fall through the cracks, but just know that I'm doing the best that I can. Another thing is, I don't like to take things super serious because life is already serious.
Mm.
I have the childlike, um, I still I feel childlike because I understand. My mom told me, she was like, things are going to be hard. Life is ebbs and flows, ebbs and flows. So it's better to be, you know, it's better to be joyous than to not, because life will tear you down. So if I want people to know, that is the reason why I'm always like energized, giddy, and laughing, create like having jokes, is because like we're doing serious work, guys. But we also need to be easy on ourselves. And if you see me taking it hard on, like if you see me being hard on myself, please check me. That's what a community is for. If you see that if you think that I'm overexerting myself, let me know, because I will hold it in.
Mhm.
So what do I want folks to know? I'm trying my best. Um, you can give me feedback, and please give me a yes or no option. When you get when you, because like my girlfriend told me, you have to start thinking in your mind. It's either a hell yes or hell no with the certain things that you want to do. Because I have a lot of passion, so if I'm halfway with something, I'm not going to give it my all, and I don't want to do that for people. So that's what I want folks to know about me.
Mhm.
Yeah. I want to share this hymn that we sang yesterday in church. On the
Hmm.
way out, there was one person in particular who stopped and said that this just kind of summarizes where she is particularly in life right now, and where I am particularly
Hmm.
in life. Um, it's called "Give Thanks, O Christian People," and it was written in 1984. So that happens to be the year my husband was born. So it's a good year.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, Give thanks, O Christian people, for life and fellowship with all who trust our Savior, their serving to equip, to ease another's burdens, to cope in joy and stress, to magnify God's message, and Christ's great love confess.
Ooh,
Snap.
I love it.
Yeah. And I think she was really struck just by that, by that joy,
Hmm.
that pain, and in the midst of that, giving thanks because we have a fellowship of people
Yeah.
and we're not alone. Um, and I think too that you're doing great work, and I hear your name dropped around in different circles that I run in nonprofits and working with partners. And so, just want you to know that we see you as amazing and
Thank you.
Mhm.
definitely doing your best, which is pretty amazing.
Hmm.
Just know that.
Mhm.
I
Know that
appreciate it, Melody.
you're doing great things, and more people are becoming aware of NeighborWorks and
Yeah.
the NeighborWorks has been doing. I didn't realize how long has NeighborWorks been around?
1986,
Oh,
2 years
Or,
after that hymn was created.
or
yeah.
your husband was born.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
I
Oh,
I just
just
want to there's one
go
thing I
ahead.
wanted to say. My mom always tells me, she's like, there's a reason why I had to make the ultimate sacrifice, you and your father and I, to leave our family back home to create something for you and your future siblings. And she's like, it's a heavy burden, but I know what will come of this, and it's going to be, you're going to be helping more people than we would ever thought. So the work that I'm doing now is what they intended for me to do when they first left the refugee camp.
mm.
And like, I don't ever want to get that why lost in my head because like, I feel like I'm working with God to create, like, to do whatever is needed for his people, you know? So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think if without my mom being a deacon of the church, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Can you share with us just a little bit? And I know that this is maybe a little longer than some of our other podcasts, but
Mhm.
um, you said your parents think of their leaving
Mhm.
their home country as a sacrifice.
Yes, because we're so oriented that they cut off physical connections with their parents to get out of a situation because my some of those family members couldn't come and their parents didn't want to come. So they could have stayed, but they were like, we see we don't know what's on the other side of the door, but we know that it could be fruitful. So just that in itself, when I'm thinking about, oh dang, this week is hard. I think about what my parents had to do. I'm not trying to compare it, but I'm like, if my DNA and my parents given me, if they've gone through these hardships, I can too.
Mhm.
So I
Then
want to
you've done
continue
that
that.
shift again. You know, like I mean, this could be such a burden. Like
Hmm.
you need to live up to that, but you did that
Yes.
switch again in saying there is this strength in me too,
Yes.
in looking at your ancestors.
Yes. Because like it's not I have to, I
Uh-huh.
get to do this because I wouldn't want it on my siblings. I will take it on for you guys. Like my brother unfortunately passed away last year. Like
Mm.
it was a huge thing to carry because like I had to think about the funeral arrangements, the all the other things that we had to coordinate. But the thing was like I knew what it was to have a community. Like I remember we were at my mom's house. All the elders and whatnot came by
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
different states, and they were like, "Okay, Toot, come over here, stand up, and I want your parents to be sitting down, and the rest of your siblings sitting down." He was like, "We put our hands on you because we believe in you." I was like, "Whoa, that's huge."
Mhm.
They were like, "Do you want your family and your siblings to be on the ground?" I was like, "No." They're like, "For you to be strong, and for you to continue to be strong, your family, you want your family to be up, you have to continue to be strong."
Mm,
And everybody prayed for us, and I was like, "This is strong." Like,
mm,
I know I'm not doing this by myself. That's why
Mhm.
I have this
Mhm.
energy, and I know like I might be doing this physically by myself, but I'm not. There's
Mhm.
a lot of
Mhm.
energies, people praying for me. So I'm like, okay, if I have the means to do something, I'm gonna do it. That's it. And that's why I'm always like, okay, there's a reason why I'm here. There's a reason why people are praying for me. I might not answer everybody's calls here and there, but like I'm doing the best I can. But yeah, I just know that I know this story that I have is not necessarily just for me. It's for the people that have put me in this position. My parents, my ancestors, my relatives, so we can get to a different point. And I want to be a role model for these other Sudanese and young refugee and immigrant kids that I'm not a poster board or I just want to be a role model and know that I want you to also be a role model for the network of friends and the family that you have.
Mhm.
So because that
Mhm.
has a ripple effect. That's why you are the one, a droplet. So people think that we're just a droplet in the ocean, but we're the whole ocean in a drop. So
Mhm.
whenever you
Mhm.
do something, it's also rippling out. You might not see it right away, but we're creating effects that we might not see. Our connections, the way we communicate with other folks, the way we impact them, we might not see it, but it affects people emotionally, spiritually, for them to do the same thing. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm doing what I can do, but I know it's the necessary work that needs to be done.
Dude, I just want to thank you for
Yeah.
being with us, that you gave us not a hell no, but a hell yes. And
Yeah.
for your inspiration, for your realness, for your
Yeah.
vulnerability. You are the one.
You are
This
the one,
is
brother.
Another one.
this has been fantastic, and
Yes.
thank you to all our listeners who have been joined in this day. And if you have comments and reactions, please let us know. We read all your comments and reach out to us, and we look forward to our next conversations.
Before we go, do you want to share where people can find your merch and your music?
Oh, yes.
Oh, the merch. Oh, God. I'm about to do another drop. Don't look at the website yet. It's under construction.
All right.
But you can follow us, the clothing brand, on Instagram, YATO brand, all one thing. My personal page, it's the King, ITZTHEKING. And then from that personal page, you can find the other links that I have and the other hobbies that I have.
Fantastic. And I also want to give a shout out, honestly, to all of our listeners in the Upper Nile and all of our friends at the South Sudan Mission Network.
Yes.
Who may be listening. And also, finally, it just occurred to me after our friend Will McGuire sang a song yesterday in worship that maybe people would like to know that a lot of the music that Will has been singing over the past series has come from some an artistic collective. We love our artist collective
Yeah.
folks at Porter's Gate, and you can find them by just searching Porter's Gate. And it's a lot of music that has been really inspiring for me and for Thomas. And we've been listening to a lot of it these days. And Will just does a fantastic job of bringing it down. So the song yesterday, I can't remember the title of it, but several folks asked where it came from, and it's Porter's Gate. P-O-R-E as in Paul, O-R-T as in Thomas. Apostrophe S and Gate. Yes, and Toot.
Yeah.
Toot. And again, as Thomas said, thank you all for joining us. And we may have one more podcast drop at some point to wrap up this series. And we hope to have everyone tune in then. And if not, we'll be on a little break until sometime next year. Thanks for listening.
Bye.